So when it came to the coolest names in all of football, we have the St. Browns. We have Equanimous St. Brown. We have Osiris St. Brown. We have Amon-Ra St. Brown. These are elite first names. There's no better first names in all of football than these three names. So let's dive into Amon-Ra, the sun god, and see how he turns out in the Bulletproof. So to start with, the first thing we look at is size. And according to playerprofiler.com, they have Amon-Ra at 5'11", 197 pounds. And there's a joke that I like. It's goes like this: what do you call the person with the lowest grades that graduates from med school? Doctor. Amon-Ra is that when it comes to alpha status. He barely crosses the thresholds. The thresholds I use are 5'11", 195 pounds. Amon-Ra is 5'11", 197 pounds. What do you call the guy that barely crosses the thresholds? We still call him alpha. He is an alpha. His BMI is 27.5, which is actually pretty thick. Like he's a pretty thick guy. He's an alpha. Athleticism, we thought Amon-Ra was a sun god for a short while. His unofficial pro day numbers made him look like exactly Odell Beckham Jr. It turns out that was not true. Those were unofficial. We now have the official pro day numbers, and Amon-Ra is a mere mortal. He is not the sun god. He's just a dude with a nice tan. He got a 7.13 in RAS score, which is still good. Like, it's not bad, but it's nothing to write home about. He's an average NFLer. Slightly above average, maybe. When it comes to draft capital, Grinding the Mocks has him at an expected draft position of 85. That is in the third round of the NFL draft. Third round of the NFL draft matters for us because it is, it gives him a reasonable chance to hit. If he falls to day 3, it's over. Like, write him off just like we did Equanimous. If he falls to day 3, it's completely over. But if he gets drafted on round 3, that matters. If he gets drafted in round 2, that really matters. That's where things get really exciting. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Draft age, like Amon-Ra did exactly what we want, right? He went to school at 18. He dominated. He went to school, or they played at 19. He played at 20. Then he declared early. Now he's going to the NFL for an age 21. He's checking all the boxes. Checking everything. He is an age 18 breakout. According to Player Profiler, it's 18.9 was his breakout age. Just into that age 18 breakout. But that's a 93rd percentile breakout age. That is elite. Like, this is a guy who showed up on campus and immediately made himself a part of the offense. That's a good sign. From a production standpoint, Amon-Ra is like right on the thresholds. Like right on the thresholds. Pretty much at 18, 19, and 20, which is kind of wild. It's pretty surprising, to be honest. That's for market share receiving yards by age, so age-adjusted market share receiving yards. And that's the same thing for yards per team attempt by age. I don't believe he hit my threshold in his age 20 season for this, but it was only a 6-game sample, so it's a tiny sample where, a long touchdown here or there can really throw things off. So I'm not too worried about it. He hit it at 18, he hit it at 19, and he was like just under it at 20. And then from a production context standpoint, this is something I like to do. It doesn't change anyone's grade. It makes me feel better about their prospects as an NFLer. So one of the most impressive aspects of Amon-Ra in his age 18 season in 2018, his freshman year, he played alongside Michael Pittman Jr. Michael Pittman is exactly 2 years older than Amon-Ra. And they went toe-to-toe. Michael Pittman Jr. had 758 yards. Amon-Ra had 750. That's impressive for a freshman at age 18 to come in and play up to the caliber of the incumbent that's already been there for 2 years, that went on to be drafted at like the, third pick of the second round or something like that of the NFL draft. Like, Michael Pittman Jr. isn't a slouch. He's not a good NFLer, but that's beside the point. He was a good college player. And then in his sophomore season, Amon-Ra's sophomore season, we see Pittman kind of take over. This is Pittman's senior season, which is like he should be dominating Amon-Ra, and he does beat him by about 200 receiving yards, 1275 to 1042. Amon-Ra still holds down the number 2 position though and hits all our thresholds that we're looking for. His junior year in 2020, so last season, this is where things get a little sketchy. Up until now, we are like all in on Amon-Ra. He's doing everything that we ask him to do, but something weird happens. Drake London outproduced him in receiving yards. Again, it's only a 6-game sample. Long touchdown or long reception can throw this off when we're only talking about 6 games, which is why we don't normally use only 6 games. But that's all we have to analyze. So it's what we do. Drake London had 502 receiving yards. Amon-Ra had 478. Drake London actually had more receiving yards. The difference, though, is Amon-Ra actually had 41 receptions. Drake London only had 33. So Amon-Ra, I think, was still the focal point of the offense. Drake London just caught some longer passes. His average reception was 15.2. Amon-Ra's was only 11.7. So maybe that's what's going on. It doesn't really matter when it comes to like his grade. In fact, it doesn't matter at all when it comes to his grade, because all we're looking for is to hit the thresholds. But it does give us some confidence that Amon-Ra St. Brown can play with NFLers. There's no questioning that. Drake London is going to be a top prospect next year. Drake London has a very impressive profile to this point in his career. Michael Pittman Jr., we already know, was drafted in the early second round of the NFL draft. He didn't have a great rookie season because he's not a great prospect, but that's a different point. He was a good college player. So the results, once we put this all together, Amon-Ra St. Brown pre-draft qualifies for Bulletproof Alpha status. That matters. Bulletproof Alpha status is great. The problem is the expected draft position from grinding the mocks right now puts Amon-Ra in round 3, and I don't have any bulletproof wide receivers in round 3. They get knocked down to the coin flip tier. There's only ever been 5 of them, and 2 of them are Keenan Allen and Chris Godwin. So there is some precedence here for excellent players coming out of this group, but the other 3 are guys you don't even want to know who they are. So we don't have the confidence that we do drafting this type of player in round 3, or when they go in round 3 of the NFL draft. The confidence factor comes down a lot. In round 2, now we're talking. So we'll see. The Sun God actually qualifies for bulletproof status, but he's probably not going to get drafted early enough. So we're looking at comparables. Let's just go through the players that do have bulletproof grades that did get drafted in round 3. We're talking Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin. Those are the good ones. Then we got Earl Bennett, Jalen Strong, and Derek Hagan. Ain't none of those guys you wanted to draft. So it's a pretty hit-miss group. That's why he falls into the coin flip group. And then from a size/profile comparable list, this is not looking at only round 3 bulletproof. This is just coin flip alpha, or coin flip guys around his size. Because he barely hit the thresholds, he has a couple betas on his comp list, like Golden Tate and Corey Coleman and Stedman Bailey. He also has some alphas, like Chris Godwin and Nelson Aguilar and Torrey Smith and Justin Blackmon, for that matter. His size isn't prohibitive of him being a good NFL player. That's for sure. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it depends with Amon-Ra. We don't know yet. He's going to be one of those guys that moves a lot on draft day. When he gets drafted, will have an enormous impact on where I rank him. Right now, I have him ranked probably, a little higher than maybe I should, because I'm hoping he gets the round 2 draft capital. He probably won't. He'll probably get round 3, and then I'll have to knock him back a little bit. He'll be right in that range with like Seth Williams and guys like that. Maybe a little above Seth Williams, but that kind of range. So wait and see.